everyone. Welcome to the Lansing Art Gallery and Education Center. So good to see so many new faces here in the gallery. Just so you know, we're a nonprofit organization. We've been in the community over 60 years, and we show contemporary Michigan artists. We have an exhibition space, a gallery shop, and as you can see, our education center is up here, and really cool artwork by Curt that you'll learn more about here. I'm going to turn the mic over to Sarah Hopkins, who is our exhibitions director. So thank you.
And who are you?
Oh, I didn't say my name. I'm Michelle. Michelle Carlson, the executive director. I always say I forget to say my name, but welcome.
Thank you, Michelle. And thank you all for joining us this evening. Like Michelle said, I am Sarah Hopkins. I am the exhibitions director here for the Lansing Art Gallery and Education Center. And tonight we are celebrating the opening reception for Curt LaCross's show, Foreign Bodies. So we have Curt here with us tonight. Thank you for being here. So the work in the show is very intriguing, and I am very excited to hear more about it, and I'm sure everyone here as well is interested in hearing more. So I'm going to turn it over to Curt to do a presentation before we start the Q&A portion of the talk. So without further ado.
Do I need this? Is this okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm just gonna, yeah. Curt, you guys, this is so crazy because most of you are all my friends, and I just want to say, wow, thanks everybody. I'm just overwhelmed with everyone who came, and thank you. It really means a lot to me. This body of work, this is kind of how we got to here, is the story. So I grew up in Alpena, Michigan. I'm up here, and this is Alpena. I'll be there tomorrow actually. And Alpena winters are horrible, but I was a horrible kid. I was horrible. So this is me, and a feral. It's feral. And law enforcement found me attractive, and there's my crew right there. And by 23, I had to make some changes, and I was introduced to recovery. And around the same time, I'd always made art. I was always a painter. I was a painter then. And I remember going to the local community college, and the ceramics professor was like, "Hey, you should try this." And I remember walking into the ceramics department and just going, "Oh my God, this place is filthy." And but I was like this, it was this cool ceramics instructor, and I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna take this class." And he obviously, he thought I was talented, and here he just wanted to boost his numbers for his class. But I didn't know that at the time. So I ended up taking this ceramics class, and so I'm in this class, and Ghost had just come out, like the movie Ghost, and it was such an exciting time to be a single guy. Like I could have had open sores on my face. It wouldn't have mattered. I'd be thrown on the wheel, and there'd be these girls would be sitting there just going, ah, And anyway, so that's how I started with clay, with drawing actually, and from there I finished at ACC, and then I moved to Central. When I got to Central, I was doing these fetish forms. These nail, I call them puka dolls. They were these nail fetishes, and I was really excited about them. They had these little slots in the belly, and they were kind of like a wailing wall. So you'd anything that was troubling you, you'd write down, and you'd put in the belly of this form, and this form just took on this energy, and so I was still working on my BFA with these, and super excited about them, and I was selling them. I was selling them like crazy, and thought that this was my, this is what I was going to do. And I had a critique with, I don't remember who it was, but the woman came in and she said, "You're not African. You have no business making these. And you need to stop." I mean, it was just like she scolded me, basically. And I just walked around like for the next week just complaining to anyone who would listen to me. And about like how mean she was and how she hurt my feelings and how wrong she was. But I quit making them. And Robert Peipenberg's book had just come out and about raku, and so I just moved in a totally different direction. I started throwing these pots, and I started implementing these slip cast forms. These were actually press molded, but it was working, and I was really excited about it. Some more raku. I would make these metal bases to go with these, and the bases I wanted to be a little more contemporary, so they would kind of complement the sort of the relic kind of pieces. These were all from my BFA show at Central. So right around this time, I started working with slip casting. So I started taking these molds and then doing these slip cast forms, and then adding these slip cast forms to the throne work. This was a cookie jar. So started getting rid of the form altogether, and then just start moving with just the slip cast form. So what I would do is I would collect just production slip cast molds from these slip cast places, and make my own molds, and then I would do these assemblages. For instance, like this was just like some metal conduit. I make a mold of that. I found a skeleton. I made a bunch of molds of different bones, and then all these were slip cast. So this piece was like extremely light. It was like hollow, super light. This piece probably stood about that big. But these were all just slip cast pieces. And then I would have all these molds laid out, and then I would just start building. It was really fun. It was a fun way to work. And could you go back? Thanks. And so this brought me right back to those fetish pieces, because now I'm making these fetish forms, and these pieces are relative to my world, like to what I'm doing right now. These are, this is the creamer that my grandma had on her kitchen table, and these are all things from my culture, right? Like this little cat, and there's golf bags, and if you watch the Addams Family, Wednesday on the Addams Family has this doll head. But these are all so these are relative.
Yeah.
This was raise your hand if you had one of those frogs that held the scouring pad. Yeah, right there he is. So I did these. Went into grad school. I was doing these slip cast forms all through grad school, and this was towards I think this was like my junior year. Yeah, these were large. These were probably this big. It's porcelain. This piece. So I was reading a psychology book, and came across this thing about shadow archetypes, and I was like, well, first it was about archetypes. I was like, oh, archetypes. This is perfect. This is like artist stuff. Like this is exactly what we're trying to do as artists. It's like archetypal image, and so I started. So this thing. It just kind of opened up, like these archetypal images. And so I'm like, well, what am I going to do with this? And so I had to narrow that focus down. And I just went back to like what I knew. And that was, that before I got into recovery, that dark place that I was at. I knew what that was like, and so that's where I made my focus. So I started focusing on the shadow archetype. And I made this piece. This piece was, Justin, you remember this piece? We had this in front of Phyllis Floyd, one of the professors at MSU. We had it in front of her office, and she kept unplugging it. But what it would do is, it had a motor inside and a motion sensor. And when you'd walk in front of it, it would start laughing at you, and the jaw would move. And Phyllis would unplug it. Yeah. And this was, go back. So this one was kind of a play on the Salvador Dali painting. I forget the name of it, but it has the little flicker light bulbs on the giraffe. And then I started making these figures. This was my senior year. So my Brian Bolden, my professor at MSU, I'm like, yeah, Professor Bolden, I'm going to just start making these figures. This is my senior year. Like I'm totally stopped slip casting, and he's like, okay. And these were just big. I mean, they were big, and they had a presence. And so I just kept making them, and they were horrible. Like I look at them now, and they're just like, oh, I cringe. I had this guy at my house. We had a guy come over and like had some work done on the house. And after he's in your house for a while, you just don't even notice him. He's just there. And this guy, I was like, I don't know if he was a plumber or what he was. And he came in and he was like, what the? But these were big. These were as big as me. And this was my MFA show at MSU. It was really fun, like hauling them, taking them home, driving on 27, driving my truck. It was a riot. So, I get, not a big market for these life-size human male figures. Not a lot of people want these in their house, it turns out. And so I had this, I had a small space, and so then I was like, well, I wanted, and when I left, I wanted to continue with the figure. Like, what was really cool about that time in my life was that when I was leaving grad school, it was like I was just starting. Like I was just starting this kind of, this was brand new, as opposed to like being done. Like I felt like I was just getting started. And so, in order to keep working with figure, I was like, I gotta work smaller, just because I just don't have the room. And so I started making these wall pieces. These pieces are in a collector in South Carolina, Columbia, South Carolina. I got a show down there, and the guy bought like 5 of these pieces. This piece is called Heavy Cargo. It was supposed to be in a show in Santa Fe, and they called me up and they were like, oh, it broke. And it broke right here. And I'm like, well, send it back to me, I'll fix it. And they're like, well, it doesn't work like that. So you have to, long drawn out affair, but they had to pay me to fix my own piece, and then sold it before they even had out of crate. Collector and stuff. Bruce, where's Bruce? Bruce Thayer still here? Yeah. Is this your piece?
No.
No. That's not yours?
No. Wrong piece.
Oh, you know who? This is Wheaton Gallery. He's got that.
Bernie's?
Bernie's.
Bernie.
This one belongs to the same collector in South Carolina. That's Raleigh. That was my Great Dane. He is such a cool dog. Him and I were doing something like that. So, I got a billboard a few years ago. I think everybody should have a billboard. It's pretty cool. Is that it? Is that the last one? Any questions? Any questions? Anybody? Yeah.
Do people pose, or do you think of people you know, or
No, I haven't. But I'm interested. I'm interested in working from the figure. But the weird thing is I work I don't sleep well, so a lot of times I'll wake up at like 3, and then I'll go in my studio and work. So I don't. It's hard to find a model at 3 a.m. So that's one of the problems I run into. But I would like to work from a figure. But a lot of times I just kind of go into it. I'll usually have some gestural drawings that gestural drawings. Well, Mr. Gesture. Some gesture drawings that I'll start the forms from. But usually, once in a while I'll find, like the figure on the end, with the brown eyes, that's Philip Glass. Like I was looking at Philip Glass. I just thought he was such a striking subject that I wanted to use him as a reference. But yeah, usually it's just kind of I'm thinking about an expression or a.
Curt,
Yeah.
what brought you back to the full body in some of the pieces lately?
When I think I can say stuff with the figure, with the pose, the gesture, the way the figure is carrying itself, and I think it's hard. I think the figure is super hard to kind of get this to have the piece feel like it's weighted. The position, the pose, the gesture, all those things are really challenging. As an artist, I think that's part of it. For me, it's really not about the finished piece. For me, it's about the process. I'm really like my eyes. I've been working on my eyes for like years and years and years and years and years, and then I get these this little popcorn trail where I can kind of like, oh, okay, I got something, and then I keep working from that. So. So I think that's part of it. It's just like having to figure it out. Yeah.
So I kind of have 2 questions. Does your mood really, at the time, impact?
These are all autobiographical, like at some level.
Okay.
At some level.
Okay. How long does it take to do a face?
So, the way I work, I build solid. So these pieces are built solid. I usually have some sort of armature that'll just support the clay. I'll build solid, and then once it gets leather hard, I slice them up. And so some of that is like just drying time. I just have to let them dry to get them to that leather hard quality. And that's the other thing, like my surfaces, I'll cut them up. So that, once I cut them up, then I hollow them out, and then I coil build them back together. Just start from the bottom and work back up. And then I'm having to like re-sculpt a lot of stuff, like address the surface, and then they'll sit for a while. I'll let them dry for a super long time. I do a 3-day fire, and and then I got to get in the painting mood. Like that's a whole other thing. And then I might be if I'm putting eyes in it, that's a whole other process. So, you know, I don't really.
Yeah.
I spend a lot of time on them, and I think that's. Oh, I'm okay with that. I like it.
How many pieces will you have that you're working on at a time?
So I lean towards clay. I'm a clay guy. and then I dress my surface. But so what I'll end up doing is I'll make a whole bunch of clay, and then I'll have to paint them. And then I'll one clay person at a time, usually maybe two tops, and then and then I'll have like 3 or 4 that I have to paint.
Curt, so you spend a lot of time with each piece. Well, what's it like to let go of them? Is there a whole process of letting go and like selling? Like you spend all that time with them?
Yeah, no, again, like I'm really not, and I don't know if anybody else can kind of identify with that, but I really don't get connected to the work. Like and when I'm making the work, it's the best thing I've ever done. And then when I'm done, it's like I'm done with it. I really wish I could just have it out of the space. Right? It's like but there's all this other grown-up art stuff that you have to do, right? Like you have to document it. I don't document it, but you have to document it. You have to build crates for it. You have to, dimensions. You have to all this other stuff that. But yeah, I'm okay with like that. It's really about the process for me, and it's cathartic. Right? I mean, it's really, and I'm so grateful. Like with that that recovery part of it for me, that's been such a huge part of that. Like being able to make art, and that's just like who I am. And my art friends, they know what I'm talking about. Yeah, Bruce.
Well, what year were you up at Central, Michigan?
Oh, geez.
The 70s?
No. You know what? 2000? 90s, yeah. Thanks, Joseph.
I was up there from 70 to 75. Well, I did remember crossing anybody when I was up there. Yeah, I did art up there too, but it wasn't until about 73 or 74. But yeah, Central, I played football up there. Central,
I didn't know that.
Central Michigan, yeah. That was my undergraduate school.
Katie, did you have a question?
I did. So you talked a little bit about that woman who made you feel
Yeah.
questioned.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that. Right?
Yeah.
Like her challenging you a bit.
Yeah.
And so I wouldn't say that, I don't want to categorize that as a mistake for you, but I'm just wondering what other things have like shifted your trajectory that maybe you're grateful for, or a mistake that worked is what I'm kind of thinking of, but I don't want to name it as a mistake for you.
Yeah, well, I mean, just that. I mean, just the process. I just remember being in grad school when we were in grad school, and Brian Bolden coming out, or Justin and I. Sometimes it would just be you and I, like over peanut butter, and Justin would say, "Well, why are you working in clay?" Like just these simple questions, like why isn't this butter, or why why not ice cream, or ice, or steel, or fiberglass? Why is this clay? Just simple questions like that, and that stuff kind of stuck. And when I'm in the studio at 3 in the morning all by myself, like I'm having to ask myself these tough questions, like so why am I doing this? Why is this like this? Why? And And so I'm even now, like, I'm having to look at like where I'm at in my life, and like, I struggle with sleep, and I research that, like, why am I not sleeping? And it's vagus nerve stuff, and it's fight or flight, and it's all connected. Like, it's all relative to what I'm talking about over there, and it's just like the next thing, and it's like, okay, how am I going to make work that's about that? So. That's next. I don't even know what that looks like yet.
I think we have time for at least a couple more questions, and then I have one question for you as well, but
Yeah.
I'd love to let a couple more people go.
I just wanted to mention that a while back, when we were teaching together, we were talking about how to create transparency with skin and how to, have the vessels and the musculature and all the layers.
Yeah.
And then I keep staring at this piece over here, and it's like perfection.
Yeah,
It's
thanks,
exactly
Thanks.
what we were talking about.
Yeah, man.
I'm curious about when the labels come up in the process. When I read what you have underneath of them, part of
The
it.
titles?
Yeah, titles, thanks.
Yeah. Sometimes it's just I got to come up with a name. You know. I don't think about the names, right? I mean, the work says what the work's going to say, and then the names are so that you guys can label them, and we know what's what. And, but I think the work says what it says, and so the name's just the name for me.
Do we have any other questions for Curt? Awesome. Well, I have at least one question that I think would be great for people to hear is, what kinds of things are you working on now? Are you working on new projects you're excited about? And then how can people learn more about your work?
I'm preparing for another show at Nelson. It's down the street, and I want to make sure I got new work for them. And today is actually my very first day of summer vacation. So, yeah. And, but I will. I'll spend a ton of time in the studio, and I want to start making work that's about this next thing. That's about it's about trauma, and it's about fight or flight, and it's about. And I don't know how I'm going to do that, but that's what I want to make the work about. I don't know. I don't even know what it looks like.
And then are you on social media? Or do you
I am on
website?
social media. I'm on www.curtlacross.com. I'm the Bulldozer on Instagram. On Facebook, yeah.
Awesome. Well, let's give Curt a round of applause. Thank you again.
Yeah,
That was awesome. And love
And
the.
thanks everybody for coming. It really, wow, I'm really overwhelmed by the turnout. So it's very cool.
Well, I just have a couple things. Yes, there are still refreshments, so please feel free to grab some wine or a mocktail or some snacks. And then I wanted to share a few things about the gallery that we have going on right now in case some of you aren't familiar. Downstairs, we just newly installed our retail gallery, so there's lots of new art by Michigan artists to view and to purchase, so definitely check that out before you go. We also have our group show, the LGBTQ+ Artists in Michigan, on display downstairs until the end of the month, so definitely check that out as well. It's awesome. And we will be at Lansing Pride in Old Town next weekend, so you can find us there. And last but not least, we have Art Path on view all summer until September 2nd. So you can, walk the trail from Turner Dodge to just south of Rio Town and view 20 installations of public art along the trail. And we're doing our first guided art walk for Art Path this Saturday, 10 a.m. at Turner Dodge. And we'll view the first 6 sites. So enjoy some refreshments, chat with Curt, and have a great night.